Hello. Well, with the weather, blowing a hoolie, humping it down in rain like that, can't really do much outside. Certainly not going cycling in it. Call me a fair weather cyclist if you want, but I ain't going out in that today. So, what am I doing today? Well, I've decided I'm going to build my Kilauea. Got all my bits here now. Everything that I've needed for it has turned up. So, yeah, that's today's video. Get this built up. Been waiting for this, I tell you. Bit of a backstory to this, which I'll tell you at the end. Well, backstory. It's not really a backstory, but not to this particular bike, but somebody asked me on Facebook, on one of the groups on Facebook, what is my passion with the 1995 Kona Kilauea? Well, you watch me build this and you'll find out in the end. Right, I'll crack on. Catch you in a bit. Right, so a quick run through the parts. So obviously, brand new cables. Brand new Ritchie Logic headset. 1 inch on this, obviously. Got my Project 2s. My Velocity stem. Some brand new pedals. I wanted the Shimano ones, but all the Shimano ones that I bought 3 pairs of Shimano Dior LX ones. So I run that then with match that with the rest of the gear. But they were all shot basically. And it actually turns out with the Dior LX pedal, you can't take the cages off to repaint them, which is a shame. So I just went and bought these cheaper Wellgo pedals. They're brand new. I think they look better than tattier ones. Brand new Shimano bottom bracket. The Seguino Impel, that is original to the bike. Crankset. Some brand new brake pads. This isn't original to the bike. Shimano Dior LX shifters and levers, and some immaculate Shimano Dior LX canties. Again, not original. Front and rear derailleurs, Shimano Dior LX. Some new grips. Bag of original bits and screws and nuts and stuff. Original Racelight bars. Original Racelight seat. And a new freewheel body. To replace that one, because that one, sometimes he catches, other times he doesn't. So he only wants a service, but I thought, well, while I'm at it, I'll put a new one on. So, happy days. Some light wool tan tyres. They're not the Pana Racers and they're not the original Kona ones. I did find a guy on eBay that does new old stock of those tyres. I'm not paying those prices. That's hideous. So, I decided to go for some cheaper tyres. I mean, to be fair, this one is... It's got a lot of nostalgia for me, this bike. So, it's probably going to be a garage queen. That's pretty much it. I'm not going to be riding it all that much. So, it's just my sort of, yeah, grabbing something from my childhood maybe, I don't know. But, yeah, that's the sort of bike it's going to be. Hence why I've done the whole lot properly. I mean, when I bought this frame set, it was actually wrecked. It was really tatty, but I bought it very cheap, so I wasn't going to complain. And all the gear, the original gear that was on it, because originally this bike would have ran XT derailleurs, grip shift, etc, etc. But past it, if I'm honest. You know, so they were that badly, it had been that badly treated. it needed completely stripping back and starting again, which is what I've done. Anyway, cracking on. Let's get this built, and then I'll run you through why the 1995 Kona Kilauea means so much to me. Catch you in a bit. Right, here we go. Let's do this. I've been really looking forward to this build. I absolutely love these early to mid 90s Konas. I love all the 90s Konas, if I'm honest. So the question I asked was, where do I get the passion for the 1995 Kona Kilauea from? Well, if I'm honest with you, this particular model, I must stress not this exact bike, but this particular model holds a lot of nostalgia for me. This is the model that I first set eyes on a proper mountain bike. Back in 1995, I was just a young whippersnapper at 12 years old. Me and my friends were out and about just finding our feet, as you do at that sort of age. Whipping around on our little old bikes. I can't even remember what bike I had now, but all I can remember from it was red. It had white mag wheels and it had red tyres on it. It was something along the lines of a Silver Fox or something like that. It was, it was nothing spectacular. But I loved cycling and mucking about with my mates back then. And then it was the summer holidays of 1995 that came along. When you're a 12-year-old lad, a lot of you have probably had this yourselves. You're living on a housing estate, and there's always the teenage lads that you kind of look up to, that live up the road or around the corner. Well, one of these lads in particular was really good on a mountain bike, on any bike. He was great, and we used to spend hours just sat there watching him and his mates doing all these little tricks and all these little stunts on their bikes at our local park. Well, like I said, it was the summer holidays, the school holidays of 1995. And the lad in particular, me and him had got quite friendly. He was a lot older than me. He was up 17, 18. But because I paid attention to his interest, we kind of formed a friendship, so to speak. And he always used to stop and speak and say hello and show off like 17, 18-year-old lads do on his bike there, like, and yeah. Anyway, he turned up in the summer holidays 1995 on this brand spanking new, gleaming Kona Kilauea. And yeah, I just fell in love with this bike, and seeing what the fella and his friends were doing on these mountain bikes, it just inspired me, so to speak. I was like, wow. So yeah, this is where the love of mountain biking all began for me, really. 1995, school summer holidays. And the bike that really took hold in my head was this, the 1995 Kilauea. Now, unfortunately, the lad that I'm currently talking about, he got me into mountain biking, really. we lost him. He'd lost his life early on. He was 21 when he had actually passed on for a car accident. So this bike has got a lot of meaning for me personally. I lost a good friend that got me into mountain biking with this particular mod for the Kona. So really this build and this bike would be, we could say, this video is dedicated to him really. But yeah, anyway, before all the tragedy had happened and everything, we me personally was growing a passion for mountain biking, like I say, and I really wanted one of these. I grew up in a family on a council estate. I didn't have a lot going on, you know. My parents didn't have a lot. There's 5 brothers, me including. Obviously, I was one of 5. So they couldn't, they were both working, but they couldn't afford a bike of this high end, at the time. I mean, this was knocking out, what, 600-700 quid at the time. Back then, that was an awful lot of money. I can remember my dad saying when we were looking at the Konas down at Ralph Coleman's in Taunton, which was my local Kona dealership at the time. And we walked in there, we weren't in there very long. He literally just laughed at me and said I could buy a car with that, boy. And yeah, that was the end of that for another year or two. And yeah, so all the hopes and dreams of owning a Kona went out the window for a few years. I then got to the age of 14. So now we're talking 1997, we're not. I'm talking 1996, 97, 13, 14, and I started working down my local hotel as a washer-upper. And I put every single penny I could back to buy myself a proper mountain bike. My first proper mountain bike actually came along in 1998. Was it a Kona though? Well, unfortunately, no, it wasn't. But it was very cheap. I had a friend that came from a much wealthier family than myself. And his parents had bought him for his 13th birthday a GT Outpost. And I had bought that one off him a few years later, or a couple of years later, for the massive sum back then for a 14-year-old lad of £35. Yeah, £35 for a GT Outpost. I was over the moon, absolutely over the moon with that bike. I ran that for a year, saving hard. By which time I'd had 2 jobs. I worked in the local hotel still, and I'd work down our local DIY centre on a Sunday, doing all the cleaning up and clearing up the yard, ready for the work to start on a Monday. And for that, I'd get £10 every Sunday for that. After a year or so of this going on, 1998 had came along. 1999, sorry, had come along. And I had bought myself my first proper Kona. It wasn't brand new, but I was over the moon with it. And I had actually bought a Kona Nunu A 1999 Kona Nuno. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Hang on, my dogs are on one. So yeah, that was that. Anyway, the Nuno ended up being trashed. The weld between the down tube and the head tube gave out, jumping it around too much. And that was the end of that. I then moved on to a 2002 Kona Syndicone, which I did buy myself brand new. And I still own it. I'll put a pic up at the end of this video. But for now, we're just coming up to the finishing touches of this build. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and I hope you've all enjoyed my little backstory on why I've got such a passion for this particular model of Kona. And I will be holding on to this for a lot of years yet. But for now, just coming up to the final touches, some new frame bolts. And I'm going to do something in a minute that all you Kona fanboys will probably not agree with, but I had it spare, so I had to find a use for it. And I think it looks quite good, to be fair. Just get my seat on and you'll see what I'm on about. Here it is. I got a spare race light sticker because I don't have the O-beam seat post. I had the spare race light sticker out of the back, so I thought, well, I'll stick it on the back of the seat tube. I actually quite like it. Well, there she is. Finally finished. I've had this bike so long, it's been a bit of a nightmare to just look at, hung up in the shed there. But here she is, absolutely stunning. Over the moon with that finish. Absolutely over the moon. Anyway, just like to say a massive thank you for everybody that tunes in, everybody that's watched, and everybody that joins me along on this channel. And with that, I'm going to leave you with it, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.